Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast. And today we're with Ken Miller. Ken, how are you, sir?
Man, I am wonderful.
Amen. Amen to that. And Ken and I know each other from the World Shakers community, Tim's story. And so glad to get you here, Ken, on the podcast. And there's you do a few things. You're a consultant. You're also working on some projects with AI. So why
Mhm.
don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what are you most passionate about right now? And then we're going to get into a conversation.
Sure. Just a little bit about myself. I'm 62 years old, born in New York, upstate. I lived in upstate New York. I did foster homes for 6 years, and then I was adopted at age 6. I then moved to Anchorage, Alaska. So I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. So I'm an Alaskan by heart, and spent the next 20, 30 years, 40 years off and on there. I was precocious as a child. I was a National Merit Scholar as a high school student, accepted to Harvard. I ended up going to Dartmouth College, got my degree, Ivy League from there. Unfortunately, I graduated with a degree in fraternity with a minor in alcohol. And so within about 3 years, I was homeless on the streets of Seattle, Washington. And I was remain homeless for about the next 20 years. I'm also a three-time convicted felon. Spent many years behind bars in penitentiaries, but today I am a God fearing, God loving, kind, and gentle man. I've been clean and sober, celebrated 20 years on September 23rd, 2024. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm an entrepreneur, and also I'm a husband, father, and grandfather. So, and I'm just blessed to be on here, Dave. I've seen you from afar. I've seen you from World Shakers, and it's just a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, man. And I honestly did not know all that about you, and it makes sense, man. I mean, listen, some of the greatest entrepreneurs and leaders, and it's called the resilient entrepreneur. And I went through a lot of stuff myself as a child. I don't know if you knew this or not, but November 7th for me is 23 years of sobriety. Before that, I had a completely different life. Grew up in the projects. My dad taught me at a young age, the only thing he taught me was how to fight and defend myself, nothing else. And so if you can imagine, no other skills besides knowing how to fight, and things didn't go well. It didn't lead to a lot of positivity. But anyway, here we are together. Excited to have you, man. And I know the thing we were originally, and I want to talk about self-talk. I think
Mhm.
originally that's what our talk was, but I also want to talk about AI because I know you're doing a lot
Mhm.
with AI now as well. So I want to kind of get into both of those conversations with you. But I mean, the self-talk conversation is so important.
Mhm.
So talk to us about, first off, how do you like kind of manage your self-talk? Or do you still deal with it? Like, because I know sometimes even as long as I've been sober, as many things that I've done, every once in a while, I still get that little voice that kind of shows up from the past. Do you still deal with that at all, or?
Yeah. Sometimes the voice isn't little though. You get a loud
Mm,
voice. You know, you will always have self-talk. It's just what is the self-talk? Is it life affirming or is it negative? Is it inimical to your long-term well-being? What you're saying to yourself? When I talk about self-talk, there's three different conversations we have. We have conversations with the external world, we have conversations with God, if you so believe, and we have conversations with self. And the question I always ask individuals, what takes precedence? And unfortunately, individuals with low self-esteem or low self-worth, many times it's the self-talk, the internal talk, that takes
mm,
precedence over talk from external sources. External sources, hey, you're doing a great job. Inside says, no, I'm not. I know I'm not worthy. I know I'm not competent. And that takes precedence. Or the voice says to you, "You are a child of God. You are a beautiful manifestation of my will." But the voice and says, "No, I'm less than. No, I'm shame based. No, I'm dot dot dot." What takes precedence? When I believe what the highest level the spiritual talk takes precedence. But for a lot of people, because we have externalities to life, we have communication or information coming in from external sources, whether they're your partner, your husband, your wife, whatever it may be, your coworker, colleague, family. We listen to that voice, and we have to, because we have to make decisions. But then again, what is the most important voice? And can we take time to listen to life affirming self talk and talk or spiritual talk from God? And that's always, to me at least, it's always life affirming. At least my relationship with God.
Mm. Yeah, man. I love that. First time I've ever heard it put that way, the external,
Mm-hmm.
the self, and then the God talk. And it's brilliant, man. I wanna before I jump into this, I want to back up a little bit though. What was it, Ken, that caused you to make the shift or the transition from, you shared all your history with us and the
Mm-hmm.
stuff you went through and locked up and addiction, and what was it that caused you to make that shift?
The shift to where I'm at today, or the shift to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
into it? Oh,
yeah, great, yeah. However you want
okay.
to answer the question, but what was something? I'm guessing, like for me, some I was going to go to prison for
Right.
probably years and years and years, and I
Mhm.
said I don't want to do that. Some people came into my life, and that's kind of where it changed for me. So, what about you?
Yeah, some people call it the pivot moment. When was the pivot, or when was the epiphany? So for me, it was lying on my bunk in Unit 13 at Par Boulevard, which is a jail in Washoe County, Nevada. And I'm sitting there, and I had a communication with God. And I think God is always trying to communicate with me. I always had been trying to communicate, but I wasn't willing to listen or allow the voice to speak to me. And literally, I had to make that decision. That's self will. God gave us that. So when the opportunity came that God spoke to me, and I was in the right place at the right time, because that is the miracle, and that's God's grace to allow me to be in that position, to be able to listen. And then it's one to listen, but then to take heed and go and put into actions things that are going to be, again, life affirming or in accordance with God's will. And so mine was on a bunk. I very much can picture it right now, where I was, what time of the afternoon it was. And it was a communication. And really, the communications said to me very simply, this is not going to be easy. I didn't say it was going to be easy, but I will be there for you. And I will be by your side to walk through whatever the concerns, challenges, problems that will come up in your recovery, to get closer to me and to follow my will. Because in the end, it was all about following God's will, period. The drugs, the alcohol, the sex, all that was just examples of me breaking away from God's plan for me and God's will for me.
Hmm. All right, man. And you're part of World Shakers now.
Mhm.
How long have you known Tim, and how long have you been part of World Shakers?
I became a part of Tim's group, World Shakers, May of last year. I was invited. This is a good question, because it goes to a topic I talk about a lot, which is trust. Okay. I was invited by an individual, Derek Green, who was one of my mentees, still is one of my mentees. And he said, Ken, there's a conference, it's a men's conference. Would you be open to go? And I said, do you think I should go? He said, yeah, I think it would be of value to you. I said, let me take a look at my schedule. I looked at it. Okay, I'm there. I got it. I'm there. And my wife and I went down to Newport Beach, and I went in with askance. I was somewhat askance because, again, I've been to a few conferences in my day, and it was life affirming. It was life changing for me. It was tears for me. And because I heard a message through Tim and the others that spoke to me. And again, you talk about the self-talk. There was some, self-talk. Oh, this is not going to be any good. Little devil on the shoulder. Oh, this is not going to be of value. But enjoy the time in Newport Beach. It's a pretty place. But it was much more than that. And so I engaged and have been a part of it ever since.
Mm. So you're talking about the live event, but we
Oh,
also
yes,
have,
100.
which I was not able to attend. I'm looking forward to the next one coming.
Awesome.
But we also have every 2 weeks we have
Mhm,
calls with
mhm,
the men, and it's
mhm,
just a great group, man. I've gotten a lot from it, and also the other members of the group. You know, like I've connected with Sean Avenado,
mhm, mhm.
Dave Williams. Dave Williams, tremendous. Had some tremendous conversations with him. That guy's he's a big thinker. But so many guys, man. Why, talk to the importance of that network though around you, man.
Well, it's the old story. You are who you hang out with. You are who you hang out with. And that was somewhat difficult for me early on because I was so used to, I just want to go back 20 years, not 20 years, let's go back 15 years. I was used to associating with a certain group of people that did not have my best interests at heart. People from the streets, people from the penitentiary, things of that nature. So I had to change all my friends, and then re-engage with those that were, again, life affirming. So you go to a group like this, and one of the things I love about it is that, as you said, there are big thinkers. Many of us, I would not say most of us, if not all of us, are successful. You almost have to have a success mindset to go into a group like this because you are exchanging time and money to belong to a group like this. And so you have to have some maturity of discernment to say, this is going to be a value added to me as a person. And so
Mm.
a couple of things. One, we get teachings, and information and knowledge. Two, we can get inspiration to bring in the spirit. We can get that can motivate us to do positive things. Three, we will meet people. And it's not so much who that person you meet, but they know someone. I've had that happen with World Shakers. And then the other thing is you get an opportunity to know that you're in the game. You're in the game. And I hate to use the term the game, but you're in an environment that's going to be positive for you, not just, let's not even talk about money, not just to make money, but to become a better man under God, to become a
Mm.
better father, a better husband, a better grandfather, a better friend to others, and especially to self and to your relationship with God. What else could I ask for? Literally, what else could I ask for?
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, and I think that for me it also is I think one of the biggest benefits is always just kind of getting that reconnection, to God and those principles. And so
Mhm,
I want to go back to the self-talk thing.
mhm, mhm.
So you were, being incarcerated, going through all that stuff. How do you, or do you, maybe you don't deal with it, but do you deal with sometimes the negative thoughts or the even maybe some limiting beliefs or self-doubt that comes from that, or is that just gone? And if it is, how did you deal with that?
So everything's on a continuum. So we can put on a scale of 1 to 100, and let's say that 100 is bad and one is good. Okay, so my self doubt, self hatred, self doubt, self trust. I didn't even trust me. What a feeling that is to wake up and not trust yourself. You know you're going to do something that is going to hurt yourself and others. I knew that when I woke up on the streets. Believe me, I knew that. So anyway, I'm on a continuum, and at sometimes you get to 99, and then the next thing is we want to end the physical life. It's too painful. Okay, so I get cleaned up. I begin working on my spiritual growth, my spiritual walk. And let's say that went down to 30 or 25 within 3 years of being clean. And then it has taken me probably the last, let's say 10 years to get to to get down to under 10. And 99% of the time, I'm under 10 on a scale of 1 to 100, and one's the best. One will be the day that I go home. That'll be one. So I'll never get
Mm.
one. Okay, but But the key thing is sometimes I'll pop up to a 20 or 30. And if I get there, it's usually because I've allowed in too much negative. I have not tapped in with people that affirm my worth. I have not communicated with God. I haven't read the Bible. I haven't, been to my meetings. I haven't been to church, those things. That will raise it because now I'm dealing with the world and I'm dealing with self-doubt and I'm dealing with my will as opposed to God's will. But most of the time, I tell people all the time, I do life well, and I do life well. I do it well.
Yeah.
We do it
Well,
well.
yeah, amen. I mean, it's ironic how many similarities you and I have, and I'm glad we were able to jump on this and get to know each other because there's so many people. There's 100 guys on on those calls, so you don't kind of get to meet everybody on a deeper, more intimate level, I guess. But that's good. So we entrepreneurs, right? It's called the Entrepreneur Podcast. What would you say to entrepreneurs that are dealing with self-doubt in their business?
Truth.
Oh
Truth.
yeah, we only
Truth.
do truth here, bro.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
yeah,
my number
100%.
one.
I
It's
don't
only
want, yeah.
truth. What are the facts?
Oh, got it, got it, got
When
it.
I'm talking about financially, what are the facts? Potential clients, what are the facts? Staffing issues, what are the facts? What's the truth? Okay, have that
I thought
first.
you were asking me, do I want you to say the truth? I was
No,
like,
no, no,
yeah,
no, no, no,
man,
no, 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 no,
give
no.
it to
But
them the way they
as
need
an
it, bro.
entrepreneur, believe me, I've started many businesses. I've started a lot of nonprofit. I'm a nonprofit coach. So I probably started 20, 30 nonprofit. And a nonprofit is a business that doesn't pay taxes, be honest with you. Okay. At least to the IRS, believe that. So how do we, because there's really two components to almost everything. One is getting started and one is retention or keeping it going. And so many entrepreneurs are good with the idea or getting started, but a lot of times they don't even have the tactical knowledge or the informational knowledge to make the business sustainable. What's your profit loss? What's your break even? What's your ROI? What's your value added? I mean, I can talk business for hours, but all I'm going back is to the entrepreneur. I'm talking to the solopreneur predominantly and the small business entrepreneur. First of all, what is truth? If you don't know finances, you either learn it well or find someone, hire someone who knows it well. Okay, that's number one. Once you realize what the truth is, I'm a big one on counsel, coach, and mentor. Find an external person that you respect. You can go to SCORE with the Small Business Development Council, SBDCA out of SBA. It's called SCORE. And there are gentlemen of my age and sometimes a lot older who, for free, will talk to you about your business and give you their knowledge because they've been business owners or CEOs of companies. And it's called SCORE. So it's not that there's a lack of knowledge out there or a lack of people to turn to. Okay. But then you have your truth, you find out, and then you find out what's the next indicated thing to do to keep this business sustainable as an entrepreneur. And then always, I want to say two more things. One is always keep the dream in the forefront. What is my goal? What is the top of the mountain? And then number two, again, if you so believe, keep your relationship with God close in all aspects of your life, and that includes your business.
So just to be clear, so
Mhm.
you're essentially what you're saying is when as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if we're putting all the other, if we're in charge of our finances, if we're focusing on the business, if we're doing the things we need to do, then we shouldn't have to deal with the self-doubt.
Some of the most successful people in the world, which we see from external, are plagued by self-doubt. Self-doubt doesn't have to do with your pocketbook or how many employees you have or how beautiful your wife is, or how big your house is, or how well your kids are doing. Self-doubt is an internal. It's internal. It's our self-reflection of our competency and worth. So it doesn't matter what the external world is doing and or saying for you to have self-doubt. But if you have self-doubt, let's work on it. Let's look at it. Let's realize that we have it, and then come to a realization. What can we do to alleviate that self-doubt or that self-talk that, again, does not affirm our walk?
So the successful positive, like converting it to a positive self-talk. Like if we're gonna
Yeah.
talk, I say this, if I'm gonna talk to myself, I might as well just say positive things, right?
Mhm.
Because if because none of it's real anyway, right? At the end of the day, if I'm gonna, I don't know. I still catch myself sometimes, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. I'll just be like The Rock. Like, would The Rock say something like that? Of course not, right? Anyway, that's just like a little hack. Maybe I'm going on a tangent
That's
here, but
fine. You
you know,
can, let me just say this. So you can do self-talk. Self-talk is internal to the brain. Nobody hears it. Or you can verbalize self-talk. I am worthy today. I am loved today. I am a child of God today.
mm,
That's self-talk. I'm just saying it out loud. But most of the time I say it internally. One of the key things I've always wanted to be was competent to life, which means in life, there's what we call the vicissitudes of life. Those are the ups and downs. There are good days, there's bad days. There's problems, there's challenges, there's bumps in the road. And how do we face those and deal with those? And am I competent to deal with those? There's not a single problem in the world that I'm exposed to today that I am not competent to, period. Period. Remember, I do life well. Okay. So I can say that to myself. Doesn't mean I have all the answers. But I have many counselors who are wise men that I work with or deal with. I can call or get a hold of Tim. It might take me a minute, but if I needed to. You see what I'm saying? I have people
yeah,
who have my best interest in heart. Okay. And I have that for others too. I give it back. So much of it is that self-confidence. And when we have self-doubt, there are times, I was mad at myself this morning because I'm running a little behind on some work I need to do for a client. That's on me. But I got it done. Took me 2 solid hours and I had to shut off everything, but I got it done. Okay. And then I smile at myself, Ken, you're good.
yeah, amen. Well, it's kind of like even with what happened with this podcast today. I was
Yeah.
running 15 minutes late. I didn't even get to do my regular setup. You and I are here and it's like, okay, man, it's time to start, and
Let's do
we
it.
got to snap out of it and let's go, right? That's it. And that's how you guys listening to this need to show up as business owners when things aren't going your way, when the client you've been working on for months says, I went in a different or whatever. We all deal with that. That's life and that's business.
Let me go. You brought up a great point, David. This was one of the hardest ones for me. When I had something external go wrong, I didn't win the grant. So I'm a grant writer. My company writes grants. And when I didn't get the grant, I thought that that was a reflection on me. I talk a lot about guilt and shame. Guilt is I did something bad. I'm guilty. Shame is I am something bad.
Mm,
One is the verb to do or a verb of action, and the other is a verb of being. I am. Okay. And when we take guilt and put it into shame, that's what devalues us, and especially devalues our relationship with God. Okay. And so when I learned that, that was such, because what it also allowed me to do is forgive myself. I can forgive because I did some bad things. Bad things. I went to prison 3 times. I did some bad things. Okay. I'm not going to go into them, but my book will go into them if you ever want to get my book. But I did some bad things, and I'm guilty of those, 100. But I forgive myself today for what that man did 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. I'm guilty of it, but I'm not that person. I am a child of God. I am a kind and gentle man. And I say that to myself. And I know that. And I, I'll just say it because I just talk my truth. I apologize once or twice a year because I don't hurt people. I don't hurt people. I don't. I could do one or two an hour when I was on the streets. Literally. I mean, I'm selling drugs. I don't want to get into that, but I'm doing what I'm doing on the streets. And a
Sure.
lot of it was not good for me or others. But so anyway, I'm not guilt-based, and I am 100% not shame-based. And that's a real important difference. So let's say you have a setback in your business, because I want to talk to the audience. You have a setback in your business as an entrepreneur. It's not you. It's the business. It's the client. And I'm not trying to displace, culpability. That's not it. But it's not about you as a human. You're still simply a child of God doing
Mm.
a walk, and we stub our toes. What is the name of your podcast again? Let's say it again.
A persistent entrepreneur.
Persistent. It's easy to be persistent when there's no wind in front of you. It's easy to be persistent when you're running downhill. Okay? But when you're treading in water against the current going uphill, you have to be persistent. We talked about that, David, last summer, the grind. Can you grind? What I talk about from the stage, I'm a keynote speaker, and I talk about resilience in the face of the known and the unknown. How do we come back from the setback? How do we fail forward? How do we overcome those things that want to pull us back? And we can assign it another power if you want or not, a spiritual power. That's up to you. And again, where your walk is. But I do assign all that is good to God. All. Let me put that again, AL, all. That's my belief. Okay. But again, coming back to the entrepreneur, this is so much. If you believe that you can start a business or run a business with no setbacks, no hiccups, no bumps in the road, I haven't met that person yet. Or let me put it, they haven't had that business more than one day.
Yeah. Well, and the better you become at dealing with all the setbacks and all the things that don't go right, the better,
Mhm.
the better you become as a business owner, leader. More opportunities are going to
Mhm.
continue to show up. Yeah, it doesn't get easier. I say the same thing to people. It's going to be more challenging as you get more and more successful because you're dealing with more rejection, more disappointment, more no, right? And I think I do want to transition into the AI. I did want to, one thing though, I want just to, and hopefully I understood this correctly, is when you're saying it's not you, you're saying it's not them as a person, as a human being, but a lot of times they do have skills or attributes that they need to work on and improve because that's why they weren't successful because maybe their skill levels aren't where they need to be, right? And either presenting their offer and their sales process and marketing, things like that. So how do you
100.
differentiate the two?
100. Again, one is an action. I need to get better at speaking from the stage. Okay. That's an action. But the other is a state of being. I'm a terrible person. I'll never have success speaking from the stage. That's a state of being. I am a terrible person. I am not a business owner. I am not going to be ever successful. That's a state of being. Anytime you put I am, that's the verb to be, and
Mm.
that's what we're saying. Now, if I've made a mistake, because remember, it comes back and revolves right back to where we started. Truth. Truth. The truth is the client made a decision to go with another vendor. Okay, I can respect that. I tell them that when I get an email like that, because I lose contracts, I don't get the bid. I say, hey, I appreciate the opportunity, to bid. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I got to get in the room first before I can make my presence felt. Okay, and you gave me that opportunity. And then the other thing I always say, and it's just a business one-on-one, if anything happens with the chosen vendor, please feel free to reach out to me again. How
Mm.
often do they get that message? First, thank you, and then please feel free to reach out. And I've gotten one or two contracts because the other person, when they went to negotiation or maybe didn't have the capacity to do the job or failed on the job 2, 3 months later, hey, I remember we spoke and you said if we can maybe come back to you. And of course, let's talk, let's negotiate, let's go.
Yeah. So ironically, I still own a real estate brokerage with my wife. I met with somebody earlier today about listing their property, and just you go to my Facebook, you'll see the live I did, and it was just I ended up walking out. I ended up walking away. I just realized that this was going to be a huge waste of my time. But to your point, since I left there, I'm thinking I'm going to send her a video, just a video SMS, just saying, hey, listen, I like, I'm here to help. If you change your mind, if you change your position, if I just realize I'm here to help.
Yeah,
But based on you not want, I'm not going to say this, but the
right.
challenge is she don't want to pay the commission that I'm offering. She doesn't want to pay another agent. She doesn't want to list at the right price. She's super difficult. Just all these things together are telling me this is just not I'm not going to win here. This is going to be a bad situation. So I have the wherewithal to walk away from that, where maybe 10 years ago I wouldn't have walked away from that. I would have
I
put
applaud
myself in
that.
a tough situation.
Applaud that 100%. One of
Mm.
the things is when you obtain or attain high self-esteem, you are very willing to walk away. I had to walk away from all my buddies, all my road dogs, all my ex-con friends that were still in the game. I had to walk away from them because that was what God told me to do. I had to change my people, places, and things. Okay. And once I did that, and once my self-esteem was strong enough, because again, my greatest fear, I might as well tell you this, it's a little off topic, but my greatest fear is that I was going to die alone. That was my greatest fear in life, is that I was going to die alone. Because I had grown up in foster homes. I'd always felt alone as a
Mm.
foster child. So I come from my childhood, but that's another conversation we can have a longer time. But the key thing is when you become confident in what you have to offer, and then also you want to have some success so that you can feel comfortable walking away. And if anything, you feel good that you did it. Why,
Mm.
why do I need that $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 for this amount of pain and discomfort that I foresee coming?
So 100,000,
And
I may have dealt with it, bro.
yeah, I'm telling you,
I,
100,000 is a lot of
I,
things that I would do. As
it's
long as
called
it's
the
not against
PETA.
God.
Yeah, yeah, amen.
I've done a lot worse for a lot less.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just a
Yeah.
joke, but yeah, there's a. You ever heard
Uh,
the PETA, the PETA fee? It's the stands for pain in the ass fee, and I
mm,
heard that years ago. Like if so, sometimes you meet with someone, you're like, you know what? Normally I charge this percentage, but for you, I'm gonna
yeah.
charge an
Oh,
extra 2.5%.
well,
So,
that's smart if you do that because two reasons. One, difficult clients invariably take more of your time,
yeah,
and your
absolutely.
time is money. That's one. And then number two, they put you in a bad mental state that
That's
make it
right.
difficult for you to engage with others positively and or even work. I've left meetings where I didn't, and I honor myself so much today. I'll just say I'm done for the day and grab me a pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream and and roll up in bed and be fine.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully you're not going to
So
bed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but that's
sometimes
pretty early.
at my age, but I just for now.
So, well, it's funny as I'm thinking about this because it's on my mind now because it happened 4 hours ago. Um, as she, one of the things she said to me as I was ready to leave, because we could tell I wasn't feeling it, she wasn't feeling it. She's like, you're probably going to be saying that this lady's difficult as you're driving away, which is why I didn't, work with her. And she's right. But I think more important, what I was saying is she's unreasonable and
Right.
she's not motivated, more than difficult. Like I've dealt with difficult people my whole life. As a matter of fact, I'm great with, that's what makes me awesome at what I do. But people that are unreasonable, unmotivated, that's the difference with her, and
Yeah.
you can't get anywhere good with them.
So someone once asked me, I think one of my mentees, he said, what is marriage? Just a general
Oh God.
question. And I said, marriage is compromise. It's compromise. It's the
Mm,
willingness and the ability to compromise, among a hundred other things. But that is, if I was given one word, so much of my marriage it's about compromise. Okay, this is what I want to do. This is what you want to do, because we're two different human beings. We
that's
really are.
right.
We're under God, but we're two different human beings. And there are wants, needs, desires that you have that may differentiate between my wants, needs, and desires. And how do we meet with love under God to have compromise? And a lot of what I do in life, again, because I'm so comfortable with myself, I do a lot of compromising because my thing is to honor my wife. That's the most important human being in this world is my wife. My
Mm,
number one, because we talk about vertical alignment. God comes first, then my wife. Then there's a big space with the children, grandchildren, but that's number one. So I'm so willing to compromise, and yeah, it's never come back to bite me, never. And I have a happy wife.
I love it. I want to real quick spend a little
Yeah.
time on this. I know we're going to be wrapping up, but
Yep.
before we started recording, you were talking about a project you're working on with AI. Tell us a little bit about that.
Super exciting. So one of the things I would say to any entrepreneur, please listen to this. Learn AI. 100. 100 means 100% truth. Learn AI. And I will recommend what you do with it is what you do with it. AI Foundations is the best place to learn about AI that I've seen. And I had to
AI
look.
foundations.
AI Foundations. It's under a learning platform called School,
Oh yeah, yeah.
SKOOL, AI Foundations. Carter and
Interesting.
Drake Siraj.
Okay.
100%. We have, I think, two or three of the world shakers in the group. We all in there. So that's number one. Number two, there's the old adage is that your job won't get replaced by AI, or your company won't get replaced by AI, but your company will be replaced by somebody that uses AI or another company that's much
Mm,
more efficient and effective. The more efficient and effective that I am, number one, I'll obviously engage more clients, but I can have a lower price point because my margins are still there, but I'm much more efficient, therefore effective. Therefore, I can, if I have to, undersell you or come at a price point, but I still take care of my family. I still have my margins, but I'm using artificial intelligence. So, having said all that, what I did is I started a company called Evolution, and it stands for Artificial Intelligent Virtual Assistance Solution. And what the company does, very simply, is that we provide offshore virtual assistants in the Philippines, Ecuador, and West Africa that are trained in artificial intelligence. So they're not just a virtual assistant, but they're virtual assistants that know large language models, that know AI image, AI video, AI audio. They know agents, they know workforce automations. what else can I say? And people
Mm.
love them because we're talking about $8 an hour. And we have clients that just do 10 hours, 20 hours, or 40 hours a week.
Wow.
And we love it. I love it. And let me say this. I started a company because I understood it. I got it. It's what we call a force multiplier. It's a force multiplier because you have the multiplication of a human that can do tasks, but that human is much more efficient and effective because they know and understand artificial intelligence. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I set it up with World Shaker Derek Green, he's my partner, is because I wanted to help the people in the Philippines and in West Africa. And then we've added Ecuador also. I mean, it's about them. It's not about me making a whole bunch of money because I don't. I just, get the business going and keep it running. So that's, I could talk AI for the next two
Yeah,
days.
me too.
Yeah.
I
So,
just got off a panel of people
mhm.
talking about AI and the different, all the different Anthropic and Claude and
Yeah, I know. Claude
Grok and
3.7. Yeah.
yeah.
On that growth. Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I love it. So I think you and I should do another conversation,
I'd
and
love to.
also you and I need to have a conversation about your VAs because I'm always looking for
Mhm.
good VAs. So
Okay.
you and I will talk
We can do
connect
that
after
offline.
that.
Yeah.
How do people get a copy of your book? You mentioned your book
Yes.
earlier.
Yes. I am super excited that my book will be released next month. It's through a company called Signature Messaging
Oh, cool. So you
with
went with
Stefan.
yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome.
In fact,
Congratulations.
Tim's writing the foreword of the
Oh
preface.
wow.
Yeah, which I'm
Amazing, man.
super, excited about. I feel blessed. Anyway, the book is called uh, Finding Ken. It's got to make sure because we've changed the name a couple times. But this is an interesting thing I'd love to say. If anyone on this call is interested, I I have a separate list of individuals I will personally sign a book and send it to them. So if you want to give them my email, all they do is email me. That you say I've heard you speak, and it's called Becoming Ken. My apologies. It's called Becoming Ken, one man's journey from the Ivy Leagues to prison and back again. And
Mm.
it's definitely a book for people in the business. There's business lessons that I've learned throughout the book, and I talk about business because that's predominantly where my back again is, and back into the world of entrepreneurship and business. But anyway, if you're interested in a hand signed, hand numbered book, please send me an email. I'll add you to the list. And when the books come out, I sign them and then I ship them out. And then we'll do Amazon, and I'll be doing a book tour and all that other good stuff.
Amazing. Well, congrats on that, man. Congrats on your success. I mean, congrats on coming from where you came from and to being where you're at, man. And I know just working with Stefan, I know how
Mhm.
much just the investment that is. So,
Yes.
congrats on being in a position to be able to do that.
Mhm.
Final thoughts for our listeners. Like they listen to this whole thing on self-talk. What would you say? What do you want them to walk away with, Ken?
What I would love for them to walk away from, in the end, it's all about you. In the end, it's not what the individuals on the outside say to you that's going to define your self esteem. It's about how you navigate the world. And so don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people that say you can't do it. Do listen to the people that you trust, your wise counsel that's around you. And I'll always end with this: you are still a child of God, and you are in his hands if you choose to walk with him. So define God's will and do your best to walk in God's light. And I believe in you, whoever you are as entrepreneur. And I honor and applaud your courage to be an entrepreneur because it takes that. Most people cannot do this, what we do. They can't start a business. They don't believe in themselves enough to do it or believe they have anything of value. And whatever you're doing, it's of value, and go forth. That's it.
Amen, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining us on the show today. And I'm going to drop your information down in the show notes if anybody can connect with you through our show notes. Ken, thank you. And I look forward to our next conversation on AI.
Awesome. Thank you so much.